Good morning. Uh, this is day 3 of making little videos to improve my camera presence and touching my face. I gotta stop doing that. And for potential jobs as I go into library technology or if I pivot and go some other direction, it's just the practice being present in a social situation, whether it be on Zoom or something like that. So I'm kind of running out of things to talk about with these videos. But again, yesterday was my niece's play, and she did incredible again. And thank you to everybody who came out to see her. She really appreciates it, and it was very nice for uh, you to do that. And I guess this morning my dad is making some split pea soup. He's the chef of the family and he's constantly cooking something in the kitchen all the time. And I always enjoy his split pea soup. My uncle is on his last day of a visit here, and we have told him that if he wants to live here, he can. And we essentially would give him the studio that we have in our garage, and he would just have to vacate for my brother when he come up uh, to visit. Uh, and he, we would do like a merry-go-round for a few days, and that worked out for the holidays pretty well. So we think that that could work out in the future here as well. Um, I guess I could talk about a few books I'm reading. I'm reading a book by Katie Ledecky. Yeah, she's a gold medal swimmer for Team USA, and I really admire her a lot because she's a very grounded gold medal winner. She starts off her book talking about how she used to swim in Bethesda, Maryland at like little, kind of kiddie competition pools or whatever and little swim clubs and things like that. And she would go back and visit and she talks with such reverence about it. And I thought that was pretty cool that she was still in touch with those things and she didn't get too big for, her roots. And so that was pretty cool to listen to. And um, she's talking in there a couple times. She talks a couple times where she got sick in a couple of events. One was in Korea, and I think the other one was in Russia, where she had like a vertigo thing. And I started thinking, like, well, I wonder if that is similar to this microwave Havana syndrome. Uh, this microwave. I got a smile. Not really a smiling topic, but I wonder if it's like the microwave thing that goes on with schizophrenics, where we receive microwave weapons. It's like cognitive war that NATO talks about, and you wonder if like these athletes were targeted. I think if I'm not mistaken, her family is from Eastern Europe in former Soviet Union countries or whatnot, and so I don't want to speculate too much, but maybe that could be something that was going on. And now that's kind of speculation from totally afar. But she talked about in the most recent pages I read, because I read 3 pages a day out of a bunch of books. And in the most recent pages I read, she was in Korea and she had a terrible ailment, and she was very nervous that it was like some exotic virus or something. And but she's going through her recollection of the events in the book, and it's very interesting. Another book I'm reading is The Future of Humanity by Michio Kaku, and I guess one of the most interesting things, most recent things in there that I read was about how we could potentially beam our consciousness into space, or maybe we are already doing it, and the fact that a type 2 or type 3 civilization, because there was a scientist, I think a Soviet scientist, if I'm not mistaken, named Kardashev, which is, to me, it's interesting that his name is similar to Kardashian, and it makes you wonder, like, is the Kardashians like signals intelligence or something? Because like, what is going on with that? It's kind of this weird surface level thing where it's like, what are they even talking about on like people? The shows are so popular and people are all into them, and it's like I don't really understand the appeal to them. I mean, they're very good looking people, and they have a lot of money. So, you can live vicariously through people like that. I do that with like athletes or whatever as a fan or whatever. Like, oh yeah, go get your millions. So I guess there's that aspect to our civilization or American civilization where we're living vicariously through like these rich people and you know digesting their lives, sort of. Not everybody wants to do that, but uh, if we're gonna have this setup where we're having this disparity, it makes me happy to like say, "Oh, I'm glad that person's doing well." So that's how I look at it. But I'm not starving or anything, so uh, I have that luxury. Then the other thing is, anyways, back to Kardashev came up with this idea of type 1, type 2, type 3 civilizations. And like type 3 civilizations, they harness the power of full on universes or galaxies or something like that. And so their energy is like totally abundant and they can develop technologies that are, incredible technologies that far surpass anything that we have here, so allegedly. Then allegedly America or Earth is a point 0.7 civilization at right now, or like a type 1 civilization. And anyway, so he talks about the idea that we could beam our consciousness, and we could, because we're monitoring our brains, we're doing the brain mapping project where we're getting into our consciousness and we're basically at a point where we could kind of download the brain into something and then beam it across the universe. And supposedly, like, we could potentially beam it to like a type 3 civilization that's way advanced somewhere way in the distant universe, and at the speed of light beam our consciousness in there, and they take it and they take our consciousness and they turn it into a us somewhere else in the universe. So like supposedly we could be in two places, and now there's a physics property or supposedly that matches up with this idea that we could be uh or parallels this idea that the idea that like when I'm looking at myself on the camera right now, I'm looking at an average of myself. Like supposedly my cells could be elsewhere, could be beamed across the universe into like Mars or something, and I could be in two places at once. So it's like, uh, no, it's I don't really understand physics at all. I'm not a science person at all. I'm more of a language arts type of mind, and not that I'm not great at language arts or anything, but anyways, so that's kind of what those are the two books that I'm reading right now. I find Michio Kaku very interesting. His books are always interesting. I'm gonna probably try to get some more of his books in the future after I finish this one. I should be finished with this one in another 5 or 6 days or so. And I should be finished with my uh, We Are Not Alone book in about 14 days. So then I can start on a couple other books coming up. Next book I'm going to start on is Homo Deus. I was recommended that book by a friend a while back, and I picked up the book, but I didn't really start it. Then I might go back into a book that my uncle got me because I had to set aside a bunch of books because of my class that started. So I was reading like out of 20 books, but now I'm reading out of like 7. So I just replaced the book. So I'll probably go finish my uh, book about getting strong, and it's a book about eating meat, even though I'm not eating meat now. But it kind of gives you an idea of like proteins to eat, and it gives you some like vegetable proteins and things like that. And I do, like I say, I do still do eat fish and chicken, and I'm trying not to eat meat for the most part because it's I think it's kind of cruel what we do to the animals. And I'm not saying knocking anybody if they eat meat or whatever. I've eaten it kind of mostly my whole life. I've been vegetarian a couple times, but uh, I just started thinking like, when you're schizophrenic, people are kind of cruel to you sometimes, and you don't know why. And it's like that's probably what an animal's thinking when we're doing what we're doing to animals. So maybe I need to be less cruel in my diet or something, and then I'll have more of a standing as a life being on this earth. But I don't know. It was weird when I said light being on this earth. I saw 1111 on the video marker, and I started thinking, man, am I being brain controlled right now as I'm doing this whole thing? Is this total brain control? Or are they monitoring? And I don't know. So I'm a little bit raspy, or not raspy, but my stuffed up nose today. I don't know if I looked at the camera. I'd like to think I'm doing pretty well in these videos, but anyways, I'm kind of rambling on, but hopefully this stuff is interesting to anybody but me. And I'll see you guys soon in another second installment today.